The hyper scramble of the high school lies. We have these two kids now, Hoggy, and we got Cruzy. Cruzy, the shooter, and Hoggy, the Hoagie. He's the hoaxy Hoagie. He's a hoager. He's a hoaxster. So let's deal with Hogg first. We have a son of an FBI agent. How about if it was like the KGB, whatever it's called now, and they had a shooting over there, and the person that was in the press all the time and that was demanding action was a son of a KGB member. Would we think that was kosher? Nope. This is suspension of disbelief. I mean, we have such a prejudice that when it's the FBI, sure, that's what most people think. Oh, yeah, it must be the truth. But if it was some other country, we're talking spies. We're talking premeditation here, right? And let's remember, this is the second time the FBI kids have been injected. They were injected in the Las Vegas shooting. The girl, Shay Turner, both her parents were FBI, and she called them from the shooting, and they were already calling their other FBI people and working on the case as they're driving over to the shooting while it's happening. So this kid is 18, 19, hasn't had any serious emotional issues in his life, I would say. This shooter, Cruz, I worked with emotionally disturbed, severely emotionally disturbed SED boys that aren't even able to be in public school, 6 to a classroom with 2 teachers. These kids have had horrible lives, but they're more scared than violent, really. It protects themselves. They're extremely hypersensitive, hypervigilant, let's say, protecting themselves, what's around them, extremely paranoid. We're in America. We live a pretty good life. There's poverty. I don't see any of these 18-year-olds, 17, 16-year-olds in these areas of the country that have had a hard life. You're talking about inner city. In any of the cities, there's some real messed up situations. Your mother's a drug user, a prostitute, you're in the house, and there's urine in the house, I guess. I mean, that's the one they tried to say about Charlie Manson, right? That his mother was a prostitute. I'm not talking Manson stories in Hollywood here, Laurel Canyon. What can I help you with, Mr. Blue Jay? You have a problem with these hoaxes? I do too. How do you feel about the YouTube? Okay, thanks, man. Okay, Mr. Blue Jay says he thinks a good part of the problem is people still using the voting system, still caught up in the duality of Democrat, Republican, and they're using you to get across their actions. I'm talking in reality with the people I've worked with, and I've known some people that committed homicide, worked with them in the psych hospital. I don't see these people having the motivation to commit murder. Have we seen any rants by any of them that end up living after these shootings that show how crazy they are? We seen any of those famous FBI profilers? There are. I mean, there's stupid shows on them, but there are FBI profilers. I've read books of cases they've worked on. How come they haven't come forward with this? You know, they don't know why people murder. They got no way of knowing why somebody would go in a school and shoot it up if people actually went in schools and shot it up. They're creating whatever they want. Now, if we were in a war-torn area and we grew up with blood feuds because some other group killed our great-grandfather, raped our grandmother or something, these guys grow up, see their family members murdered, see actually blood and guts. Hey, I don't want to see that stuff either, but in America, we have been pretty sheltered from things, and we haven't been tried yet. For most of these shooting hoaxes and others, they leave out any real emotional content. Hogg is a little pissed off, but he rants, but he doesn't look like he has any true emotions. Cruz looks like he's smirking just a little when he's in court, but he hasn't jumped up and down and shaved his head and tattooed a SWAT sticker on his forehead or anything like that. Oh yeah, that was Manson. Murder is a crime of emotion, whether it's patriotism in war, they get you hating the enemy with all their propaganda, or somebody you love and that has really hurt you and you want to hurt them back. You want to erase that pain. Strong, visible emotions is involved in a whole lot of murders, okay? 90-something%. How do they justify these shootings when no one seems emotional except that lady jumping up and down about gun control, Bartley's friend there? I mean, Cruz does look like he's sedated, could be on an antipsychotic. These people go in a psych hospital, they get put on medication. What do you think a psych hospital does for them? It doesn't teach them how to do yoga. And that medication takes away a lot of your anger, and it kind of confuses your brains, right? Because it controls when they go to get their wallet and pay at the counter, they're very slow. They don't ever look at you. They're kind of in some kind of fog. You remember the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? One flew east, one flew west, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Well, in the book, they had these hypothetical fog machines because when they were medicated, everybody felt like there was all fog in front of them and they were just sitting there and everybody couldn't see each other because of the fog. That was what medication does to you. There were no fog machines. It was a metaphor. How would they ever catch anybody in a murder cases if the person wasn't emotional? If it wasn't somebody that knew them, you would never catch anybody. You know, what do you think you're going to rely on, like CSI or something? Really? Okay. Let's look at some numbers from the United States Department of Justice. Homicide trends in the U.S. 1980 to 2008. Annual rates for 2009 and 10. If any of these trends have completely reversed in the last 10 years from 2008 to 2018, they better have a dang good reason that happened. Otherwise, it's very small increments. All right, we'll look at homicide offending rates followed a pattern similar to victimization rates. So they all continue to go down, the murder rates, some more in certain age groups than others. The offending rates for teens 14 to 17 and young adults 18 to 24 increased dramatically in the late 1980s, while rates for older groups declined. From 80 to 2008, young adults 18 to 24 have consistently had the highest offending rate. This rate nearly doubled from 1985 to 1993, going from 22.1 offenders per year per 100,000 young adults to 43 offenders per 100,000 adults. Even though this age group increased, the numbers of murders in that age bracket has gone down on a whole. Since 1993, the offending rate for 18 to 24-year-olds has declined to 24.6 offenders per 100,000 in 2008. The offending rate for teens increased substantially from 10 offenders per 100,000 in 1985 to 30.7 offenders per 100,000 by 1993. After 1993, the rate fell so much that by 2000, the offending rate for teens was near its lowest 1985 level of 9.5 offenders per 100,000. The number of homicides reached an all-time high of 24,703. Homicides in 1991 then fell rapidly to 15,522 homicides by 1999. The number of homicides increased steadily from the early 1950s until the mid-1970s. Between 1999 and 2008, the number of homicides remained relatively constant, ranging from a low of 15,000 in 1999 to a high of 17,000 in 2006. These homicide numbers were still below those reported in the 1970s, when the number of reported homicides first rose above 20,000 in 74. The largest group of offenders by age, 18 to 24. So that includes gang warfare, a lot of gangs, a lot in the gang areas, a lot in the inner cities. But it also includes military people, ex-military, soldiers, fighters, foot soldiers that have been released and been subjected to all kinds of chemical abuse in the military, have post-traumatic stress disorder for the way we carried on these wars in the last 15 years. So like they said, there's also the same amount of victims in this age group as offenders. There's a correlation between offender and victim. So these military people, gang members, hang out with people their own age, right? If they were to kill a lover, it'd probably be in their own age. This is a whole group of people, male and female, that have been ignored in America. The soldiers that were in Iraq that have been in the military since 2000. The suicide rate is astronomical among them, as well as the physical attacks on their significant others, a lot of marital abuse going on. But they'll never mention ex-soldiers who know how to use AR-15s. The whole thing with the AR-15 is a comedy. You go in the military, how long does it take you guys to learn an AR-15 and use it and be safe with it? The military calls the AR-15 the Colt and M16. These people like Cruz would have to have somebody train them. If they restrict the ownership of AR-15s, that's going to probably affect more ex-military, current military than anybody in the country. Adam Lanza, his mother was involved in weapons. This guy would have had to have been involved in weapons. He would have had to have somebody show him. He would have had to have gone somewhere to practice with it. Heard he had a bunch of weapons, and we saw him shooting a pistol in the backyard. A pistol be a little easier than an AR-15. The way it would probably happen in reality is with a 22. 22s, the largest number of people can get their hands on 22s. A rifle, you can get nylon stock and everything, super light. Put a scope on it, you could do long rifle 22s. And that's what would be in reality. And even with kids like this, you would suggest, man, if they're gonna just go shooting people and they're not military and they're not trained, just get a 22, man. M16. They act like this gun just shoots itself. There's a whole nother level after buying a gun like this and other guns that are military origin. You better be trained in them. And they're forgetting that whole thing to carry through. People with mental illness do not go through all these steps to achieve something. So we have the battle of the 18-year-olds here. Was it going to be like some super WWE match? You got Hogg, you got Cruz up against each other. Mano a mano. There is so much crap, people, on the internet, in the chemtrail situation, in the shooting situation. You can't believe it. I'm seeing so many people that their channel is being made by the government. You can't believe a whole lot. It doesn't take very long to see the footprint of Haspara on a lot of these things. There's only so many variables they can use. Who is it that are actually saying the government is running these as hoaxes and that nobody dies? Cruz is acting. Everybody's acting. This is a Hollywood production. They set up the people to be interviewed. Who's interviewing them? They script it. If Shakespeare and Charles Dickens lived today, this is what they'd be doing, writing the script for hoaxes. With the deep state, I saw on Ron Paul's Liberty Report him talking about the deep state. See, they use the word with QAnon, deep state, and everyone has a different definition of who the deep state is. Some people say deep state and obviously believe it's Republicans, Democrats, Clinton, Bushes, Trump, whether it's the Council for National Policy or it's the CFR. And then other people, QAnon, started using deep state as not the old deep state, but a new deep state that's against Trump, even though deep state is Democratic and Republican. I see them use that term, and they did it on purpose with total confusion for this aspect. When they say deep state, what deep state are they talking about? Whose definition? Ron Paul uses it in one way, Q uses it in another. They got this whole focus of deep state from YouTube and alternative sites, and now they're using it to their advantage with their own definition. Big thing is continuity of government. It's been in place for a while. It was the whole thing with 9/11. And there are Democrats and Republicans. So you're telling me it's failed already, the continuity of government? It's totally thrown out the window because Trump came in and he's not part of this whole continuity of government? Okay. Yes, because the people in charge really aren't in government. The people in charge have been owning governments for many hundreds of years. Government has a role and people watch government. They have to do things. These leaders don't have to do anything except get greedy, really, to tell you the truth.
Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. 'Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. 'Cause Uptown